Okay, if you know it, sing it with me. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. Do you know this story? Do you know that song? Yeah, it reminds me of growing up in the church. This wee little man that climbs up in a sycamore tree just so he could see the Savior. And as Jesus passed that way, he looked up in the tree and said, "Zacchaeus, you come down." How does it end? "For I'm going to your house today." One of the things, it reminds me of watching a movie and then reading the book. And at times you're like, well, I mean, yeah, that was close, but man, there is something that's packed in the book version that oftentimes the movie just can't even capture. And I felt the same when I was reading Luke chapter 19 today. That song I loved, and it was catchy. But it doesn't come with the type of challenge that is found in the text of the account of Zacchaeus. Luke chapter 19, verse 1. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through, which that right there is just an interesting way to begin the account. Jericho, the city in the Old Testament that is known for the miraculous movement of God that causes the walls to fall. Jesus is passing through this storied city, and like the walls of Jericho, the walls of the heart of Zacchaeus will come tumbling down. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. Every time you have an introduction of any character throughout the Bible, pay attention to the descriptors. He was a chief tax collector, not just a tax collector. He was one of the ones that was heads over the tax collectors. Now, we know something about tax collectors, especially because Matthew, the disciple, was a tax collector. And these were Jewish people, a lot of the times, that were commissioned by Rome, employees of the empire, that were meant to gather the money. And so the people, the Jews, looked at them as traitors, while the Romans looked at them as peons. We just want the money. Just bring us the money. He's a chief tax collector. So an outcast leader of the outcasts. And boy, was he wealthy. How did they get wealthy? By charging the people a little more than what Rome was asking. Verse 3, he wanted to see who Jesus was. That made me put down my text and just sit in that phrase for a minute. One of the things that's described of Zacchaeus, he's a chief tax collector. One of the things is that he's wealthy. But one of the things was this. He wanted to see who Jesus was. He didn't want to just catch a glimpse of him. He wanted to position himself so that he could see who Jesus was. And the zeal of Zacchaeus is so intense that even the shortcomings of his own life, of his own stature, of his own abilities would not stop him from accomplishing the singular goal to see who Jesus was. It says, but because he was short, he couldn't see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see Jesus, to see who he was, since Jesus was coming that way. You know, it's interesting to me. Oftentimes we will be at junctures in our life or at seasons in our spiritual walk where we just simply can't see God. We can't see what he's doing. We can't see where he's going. My question to myself and to you is, but are we approaching those seasons with the zeal of Zacchaeus that will stop at nothing? No doubt will keep us. No shortcoming of ourselves will keep us. No inability, no crowd of people will prevent us from seeing who God is. Zacchaeus climbs the sycamore tree And then verse 5 says, when Jesus reached the spot, he looked up. And I asked myself the question, why? What drew Jesus' gaze to that place up high in a sycamore tree? Was Zacchaeus calling? Were people pointing? Was there movement in the trees that Zacchaeus was trying to, losing his footing that caused Jesus to look up? Or was there a magnetism from his gaze that was attracted to those that have zeal to know who he is? Jesus reached the spot. He looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. That's in the text. Come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. That is such an interesting thing. Our zeal for God, whenever it is to a point where we will do anything to see him, draws his attention, but don't be surprised when it comes with command. Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. Verse 6. So Zacchaeus came down at once and welcomed him gladly. Notice the progression. A zeal of Zacchaeus that would stop at nothing to see who Jesus was such an intensity that Jesus was captivated by Zacchaeus' gaze. And when he made eye contact, when they could see each other, Jesus' response was a command. What I love, though, is Zacchaeus isn't just zealous to see Jesus. He is also zealous to respond to whatever Jesus says the moment he says it. My challenge for you this week is to wrestle in your own life those phases of the zeal of Zacchaeus. How zealous are you to see who God is? Will you stop at nothing to catch a glimpse of him passing by? And will you respond whenever the Lord not only locks eyes with you, but offers you a command that doesn't just cost you something, but it gives you your very life? I love you guys. Have a good week.